So a cube. Oh shit! Ha! Woo! Let's go! Now, you might be wondering why I got so excited about that cube. And that's the purpose of this video. I'm going to describe to you a text to 3D modeling product from Adam.new. Company just closed a $4 million round. And on the same day or just after they announced their funding round, they released the open source version of their product. So let's get started. All right, guys, so this is CADAM running locally. There are a lot of interesting features about it, but let's just generate something. So I want to do a knife here. I haven't tried that yet. I've built a few different shapes. What's unique about it, and this is an important distinction that I'm hopefully going to make a laser focus on as the video extends. There we go. There's a knife. And it does differ from the sword, which I'll show you in a second. And you can zoom in. And I think like really the interesting thing about what Adam did, or CADAM rather, it was a master's thesis for one of their founders, Zach. And one of the interesting things about it is they used a lot of advanced technologies, 3JS, WASM for the CAD itself, the Anthropic integration, Weber. They used a lot, but they put them together nicely. So the end result is a unique product, but differs from some of the products that exist to this point. So there you go. That's a knife. And then you can change the sliders. You can get the hand. Well, let's see. Let's try the handle length. This is all live. I've never done this one before. So that reduced the handle. And I also have very little experience with 3D models. Yeah, there you go. The handle gets extended. And so out of the gate, when you make a prompt, it generates some sliders or parameters, and then you have access to the 3D model itself. All right, so this is an important distinction. What makes Adam differ from something like any of the text-to-image models on Fal.ai? So you see here, I put in generate an image of a Pikachu plush, and what's produced is a PNG. It's actually not. It's a WebP, I believe. But you get an image, a traditional image. And this is how the majority of text-to-image models work. What Adam differs substantially from this because you're actually not generating an image. Instead, the agent is generating code, what's called OpenSCAD code. And then you're relying on different architecture, some of it pretty sophisticated, the CAD WASM, stuff that's been worked on for years, or 3JS, which is 3D rendering in the browser. You're relying on this very, let's say, sophisticated technology that's been around and well supported to take the code and then generate the 3D model in the browser. And you could think of like a million use cases for something like a product like this. So the origin story for Adam.new or CADAM, from my perspective, is I was on Crystal Ball Z, an application I created that tracks funding news across the web, and noticed on Halloween that Adam had done a $4 million round. And the story gets a little bit more interesting because if you read through the article, it's either a Y Combinator company, at least the base of the product served as a master's thesis for a couple of folks at UC Berkeley. Beyond that, at least this article talks about how the results from Adam.new were getting impressions to the tune of 10 million. So this is the GitHub for the product. As I mentioned, it's open source. Actually, after the first announcement, I recall reading on Halloween the TechCrunch article that they had raised the money, and then seeing later a post suggesting that the product's now open source. It might have been up, though, for a while, but either way, it is up today. The link for the GitHub will be in the description for this video. And I would say, like, in the range of difficulty to get it running, if you have an Anthropic API key, that'll help. But a Cloud Code and an Anthropic API key, you should be able to get this up in short order. Quick talk about how CADAM works. You have a flow of data through the application. Begins as these generative AI often begin with a user prompt. In this case, create a coffee mug. We then hit the orchestrator. Now, I've talked about orchestrators on this channel before, specifically in my last video about $1 million code base, or $3 million code base in that case, where you have an orchestrator which manages how the agents deal with the data incoming or going through the application. But we've got a user prompt, create a coffee mug. We then have an orchestrator. One of the main features of the orchestrator in this case is to generate, or ask Anthropic to generate CAD code. So you're not actually using, and this is the key piece, you're not actually using a text-to-image model like SDXL, like I covered in how to do unlimited free AI images, or Sora, which of course is video, but you're not using a text-to-image model. Instead, what you're doing is you're generating CAD code that you're going to rely on WASM and 3JS to render in the browser. So user prompt, orchestrator, generate the code, then the WASM compilation, and then the 3D rendering with 3JS. That's actually a perfect image to describe how the flow of data works through the application. You know, most of the fun, let's say, software solutions today do require pretty sophisticated hardware. Like off the bat, I'm thinking of Carthapi's NanoChat or Bird's Hyperstream. You know, you need pretty sophisticated GPU arrangements, or even PewDiePie's vibe-coded UI on top of 10 GPUs. You know, a lot of the software that interests me does require substantial hardware. And so that's why I think CADAM definitely stands out to quickly generate, and they do have a pro version, but to quickly generate a 3D model in your browser by leveraging CAD WASM and 3JS, I think is a really, really smart idea and really a treat to use. Now, if you like software engineering, if you want to keep up to date with the latest products, latest practices, please follow my Twitch, like this YouTube, share it, and I'll see you homies soon.